I want my dad to stop drinking. I want my mom to stop yelling. I want everyone to be okay, thought this beautiful Pluto in Libra. And it made sense, really. After all, Pluto and Libra individuals often carry the weight of peacemaking in their souls. They often absorb the emotional turbulence of their families, desperate to restore harmony if possible. They strive for equilibrium, using their natural grace and understanding to ease tensions that run deep in the household. But balance, harmony, those were all fleeting concepts for this little Pluto in Libra, though she longed for them more than anything. Growing up in the South in the early 80s, the typical family life was firmly rooted in tradition. Respecting your parents was paramount, more so than respecting the needs or feelings of your children. And the key to honoring your parents was to keep your mouth shut. Never disagree with them, never challenge them, as that was considered highly disrespectful and there would be consequences. Yet this little Pluto in Libra was gifted with a voice, one that absolutely could not be silenced. Now, at the time, her father was a hard-working welder at the local oil refineries, and he also was an alcoholic. And his addiction created these waves of turbulence within his small family. Often the addiction would cause him to disappear for days. He missed his son's first birthday, and another time he wasn't even there for Christmas morning. Her mother, young and weary from the years of emotional neglect, finally had had enough. She packed up the children and moved back in with her mother and filed for divorce. The split caught her father's attention. He turned his life around, he cleaned up, and he started a brand new construction business. And he even opened a gym. But this effort, like many others, was short-lived. The pressures of life and his unresolved emotional turmoil led him back to his old ways. He fell back into drinking, and the businesses he'd worked so hard to build began to crumble. And oh yeah, the volatile mood swings returned. The empathetic little Pluto and Libra girl tried to understand why her father did the things that he did. As most Pluto and Libras, they can see all perspective of things. So she began to understand that her grandfather didn't treat her father right when he was a child. And because of years of abuse inflicted by his father, her father coped by drinking. She justified his behavior because she understood the reasons behind why he was doing what he was doing. She even felt bad for her older brother because even though times were tough with her father and he was cold and distant to her, she noticed how cruel he was to her older brother. He wanted his son to be a sports star, so he pushed his son to do ridiculous training regimens. And she felt sorry for her mom too, because she could see how her dad's actions were abusive towards her. One particular evening, her father came home completely intoxicated. He stumbled through the front door, muttering incoherently, his body too weak to even stand. He collapsed in a chair, intending to sleep off the alcohol. When her mother saw this, exhausted and fed up, she found him like this yet again. She snapped. She unleashed a deep rage within her being and began screaming at him. After all, he had a house, a business, a wife who loved him, a son, a daughter. What more could this man possibly ask for? And yet he was throwing it all away for alcohol. The young Pluto in Libra and her brother were in the room next door, too tired from a long day of play, and they wanted to go to sleep. But the yelling kept them awake. The house had no peace when the arguing would start, and there was nothing the children could do to stop it. Desperate to make peace, the young Pluto in Libra in her little nightgown ventured into the living room She pleaded with her mother to stop, begging her to just feed him, to get him into bed. "He's sick," she begged. But her mother was too angry to listen and turned a deaf ear. The young Pluto in Libra's voice didn't matter. The moments when her father stayed away were the only ones where she felt like she could truly rest. And as strange as it seems, his absence was a time of quiet and peace. And as a little girl, the Pluto in Libra often wandered into the woods behind her rural Louisiana home. This wooded sanctuary became her refuge, a place where the noise and chaos of her home couldn't reach. Here she could escape her thoughts, flowing freely without interruption. She would roam through the trees, singing her songs to the forest. Her voice carried through the woods, embraced by the swaying trees and the curious animals. It was here, in this sacred place, that she felt most alive. Her voice, unrestrained, was free to soar, and it didn't need to be hidden or quieted like it often had to be at home. In those moments, she felt invincible. At home, her father's absence created a space for her mother to invite people over, and this little Pluto in Libra relished the attention. She loved entertaining, and she loved when her voice was heard and appreciated. She very much enjoyed the admiration of others. These were rare moments in her childhood where she felt seen. Now, people often commented on her talent, telling her mother that she was destined to be an entertainer. So her mother enrolled her in a dance competition, and she won. Soon after, they were traveling to more contests, entering the world of entertainment. At just 8 years old, she auditioned for a role, but was told she was too young. However, the casting director saw something special and connected her family with a talent agent in New York City who would offer roles for her age group. Excited, her mother sent footage of the young Pluto in Libra singing to the agent, who then invited her to come and perform in her office. The young girl, eager and hopeful, obliged. Her performance was so captivating that she was immediately signed. But her mother was pregnant, so they returned to Louisiana for the birth of her little sister. Soon after her sister's birth, the young Pluto in Libra got her first big break. She was offered the understudy role in an off-Broadway musical, Ruthless. It was the validation she had longed for. It was proof that she did have the talent necessary to be an entertainer. And after the grueling schedule of a New York musical, the young Pluto in Libra needed a break. She returned to Louisiana seeking a normal childhood for a while. By then, she was 13, and her parents' strained relationship began to affect the family dynamic. Her mother started treating her more like a friend. They would drink daiquiris and have fun. It was in these moments that the Pluto in Libra noticed that when her father drank, he would get depressed and shut down. But when her and her mom drank, they would be happier and more adventurous. The pair made this adventure their thing. They drive to the neighboring state, drink, and go to the beach and have fun together. And although this was some fun times in the little Pluto in Libra's life, she missed performing. After all, it's when she felt the most seen. At just 15, she recorded a demo and was signed to a record label. Her life became a whirlwind of recording sessions. She spent endless hours in the studio. And one night, she decided to take a break and attend a barbecue. She wore a beautiful dress and picked out the perfect heels. She was determined to enjoy herself. The evening started perfectly. She met some great people and everything was going smoothly. But as she walked into the house to fetch her friend, she slammed her nose in a screen door, falling backwards in front of everyone. The room burst out into laughter, and her face burned with humiliation. How could she have missed something so simple? The laughter felt like a knife to her heart. She had worked so hard to be liked and to be admired, and now everyone was laughing at her. She wanted nothing more than to vanish from the scene. And yet, with all of the amazing adventures she had recording that first year, that moment of slamming into that screen door stayed with her whole life. The embarrassment and the vulnerability, it was a vivid memory that would never leave her. So just who was this Pluto and Libra girl who had to find her voice? Well, it was none other than the iconic pop star, Britney Spears. The same young girl who found herself fighting for her voice again years later during a very public custody battle with her ex and the conservatorship with her father that held her captive for over a decade. And now you know what is up, my buttercups.